Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is Greg Horn, and man, we are rolling this week talking about celebrating. I've hardly ever done 4 programs on a topic, but I just feel like this is one we really need to put an emphasis on in 2023. We're already almost to the end of January. I'm like, can you believe it? And yet, friends, I bet since New Year's, you may have celebrated then, New Year's Day, the 31st into the 1st, but have you celebrated since then? And as followers of Jesus, friends, we got to celebrate. And I've been talking all this week about the importance of celebrating and listing scriptures and sharing quotes, just talking about celebrating. And yesterday I started sharing 3 reasons as we wrap up this talk today on reasons to celebrate. Number 1, it's just good for your health. It's good for your health, and research shows that celebrations increase people's sense of well-being, regardless of socioeconomic factors, education, age, or gender. And then I know somebody's like, okay, Greg, I want to celebrate. How do I celebrate? 1, we got to be intentional, get it on our calendar. 2, we got to get our worship on sometimes. That's a great way to celebrate. Psalm 68, verse 4 says, sing to God, sing praises to his name, lift up a song to him. His name is the Lord. A 3rd way to celebrate, laugh. Oh, my goodness, friends. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 22. It says, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Not only, friends, is it more important, the Bible tells us that, but physiologically, if you can Google it, research it, man, laughter is good for our health, our mental, our emotional health, even our physical health. Okay, burn off calories when you laugh, all right? But you got to be intentional. A couple of my favorite comedians, guys that are clean, Michael Jr. is great, and Tim Hawkins, just 2 to mention. I hope you'll check them out. Also, here locally, we've got a guy named Sean Reynolds that's really good, Shawan Reynolds, a local comedian that does a great job. We had him on Hope is Here a couple years ago, and probably need to try to get him back on again so we can have some good laughs. If you're looking for somebody to hire for your event here locally, Sean tours all over the country. Actually, he's done some programs with Tim Hawkins, so just such a cool story. But we got to be intentional laugh. Tell a funny story on myself, because one of the things I think, friends, when you're healthy, mentally, emotionally, physically, you can laugh at yourself. And as I've shared with you numerous times, I go to Stronger Life class and work out 4 times a week. Occasionally get there 5, but definitely been doing 4 times for over a year now, and it's helped so much with my mental, emotional, and, of course, obviously my physical health. But one day it was cold, and I had my sweatshirt on, sweatpants in the wintertime, until I get warmed up. And when I got warmed up, I went to take the sweatshirt and sweatpants off. We stretched before each class, pulled my sweatpants down, and I forgot to put my shorts on. And so all of a sudden I'm like, hello. And boy, I pulled them back up quickly. Thankfully, I was in the back row of the class, and nobody happened to notice because they were stretching too. But, I just laughed about it after being in panic. Then about a week later, we were stretching, and something came up in the class, and I just brought up, said, well, I had a funny thing happen stretching, and I told that story, and everybody started laughing like, oh, man, I missed that. People were laughing. So since then, a good friend of mine, Bob, in the class, Bob Shaw, fellow pastor, actually, he'll walk by me if we happen to be at the same workout class, and before we get ready to start, I'll say, got your shorts on? Oh, man, and I just chuckle. I love it. So, friends, you got to learn to laugh more, not just at life and be intentional, find funny things, but also laugh at yourself. It's so freeing. Another way to celebrate, do it with someone. Food's great. Got to be careful about that. It can be something healthy, too, over a meal, all right, or just over a cup of coffee, okay, or a smoothie or whatever, a tea. And, man, just maybe a gift. Bless somebody and just celebrate with them, no matter how small it is. Get them a gift card. I don't care if it's $10 somewhere. Man, what a blessing. Get a meal at Chick-fil-A. I mean, it's great to do that. But I think one of the other things that's so important about celebrating, we got to sometimes just reflect on what happened. And I've been trying to do that a lot more intentional. I think about my trip to Israel so many times. There was 34 of us went on that trip, and people post stuff on Facebook. And a friend, Judy, recently posted where we got to sing this song and this church. It was over 1,000 years old there, and just the acoustics, it was so powerful. We sing "I Love You, Lord" at hymn, and just it was so powerful in the acoustics. And I bet I watched that, I'm not exaggerating, 10 times that day. Watched it 4 or 5 times in a row. Then I went back later that afternoon, that night, before I went to bed, and just reflected on what a moment that was. And yet, friends, we've all had moments where we could celebrate something, and it's just good to go back and reflect on some positive things, not just the painful and negative things that the enemy loves to get you to do, but to reflect on those positive moments, like on a birth of a child, a wedding, a new job, a vacation time, maybe a family cookout, a ball game that you went to, a concert. I mean, there's so many things that we could just celebrate and reflect on those. And last but not least, it's just so important when not just to celebrate things that have happened in our lives, but to help celebrate with others. Man, it just Proverbs 11:25. If you don't have this verse memorized by now and you've been listening, I hope it's here for 5 years, I'm going to put you in timeout. But Proverbs 11:25 says, "Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." And when you recognize something somebody else has done, and it can be just a phone call, it doesn't even have to cost you anything but a little bit of your time. And yet our time is valuable. But when you do that, I'm telling you, you go to bless somebody else, it blesses you. It's just the way God did it. It's not as humans we do it, and we don't do it to get blessed. But I'm just telling you, I know that you will be blessed. But here's another thing. Sometimes we call, a lot of times like me, I'm in meetings a lot, and so I can't take it. Leave a voicemail, especially if it's something positive. I'll tell you what, man, nothing better than getting a positive voicemail, isn't it? And I know a lot of you are like me, man. There's voicemails I've saved from people that have been such a blessing to me, and I go back and listen to them sometimes when I'm having a tough season of life. Texting is, it's better than not doing anything, but take some time and just say, hey, I heard, about this accomplishment, or heard what happened, this great event in your life. Just wanted to let you know, man, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. And, man, it means the world to people, doesn't it? And put some fun emojis on there. And then the good old handwritten note. You've heard me talk about this. And in this world, I love texting. I love email. I love all the communication things we have in technology. But I'm telling you, there's nothing better than a good old-fashioned handwritten thank you note or a congratulations note. I go to get my mail between the bills and junk mail. I love it, friends, when there's a handwritten note or card in there. And I've been blessed to get a lot of those over 20 years in ministry. And, man, I save them all. I've got this one drawer that's just filled with those. And I go back probably once a quarter and read some of those because I need it. It encourages me and reminds me to celebrate. All right, we've looked at 5 reasons there to celebrate. It's good for your health and how we celebrate. Secondly, we got to celebrate the big and small events in your life. Celebrate the big and small events in your life. I never forget, my brother was head basketball coach at Western Kentucky University. He had a guy on his staff named Jeff that he was an assistant with Utah when they played Kentucky in 1998, right before the national championship game. They played him for the national championship game, but right before it started, the players were walking out to midcourt for the tip-off. The head coach for Utah, Rick Majerus, a great coach, turned around to the assistant and said, guys, look around and just enjoy this moment here for a second, because you never know. You might not get back here again to be a part of an NCAA championship game. And when that guy said that in 2003, here it is 20 years later, I still remember that. And just trying to reflect when you get special moments like that. And you just don't know if it'll happen again. Mya Angelou says, life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. Oh, that's so good. Life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. Friends, I want to remind you that success is a series of small victories. One of the things we talked about was a basketball coach at Western Kentucky University back in the 90s for Ralph Willard. Our head coach Ralph Willard would tell our guys each day, friends, guys, let's just get a little bit better each day. Just a little bit better today. And I want to say to you, as a follower of Jesus, as your spiritual coach, each day just say, Lord, I want to get a little closer to you. I want to get just a little closer to you. We do that by praying, by listening, by worshiping, by giving. So many ways to do that. I also remind you, friends, you're never too old to celebrate. Oh, my goodness. My good friend Wally Rendell, my hero of the faith, pastor for over 50 years, says, if you still got a pulse, you still got a purpose. And know that that's so true, friends. I've read about this study by Dr. Robert A. Emmons. He's a professor of psychology at the University of California in Davis, and he's the founding editor-in-chief of the Journal of Positive Psychology. He and Dr. Michael McCullough of Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, did this study. They divided people into three groups. They had over 300 people do this. One group wrote about each day's events without assigning qualities, good or bad, to their observations. The second group was told to write about only their unpleasant experiences. The third group was instructed to make a daily list of things to be grateful for. Guess what the results were? Daily gratitude writings resulted in higher reported levels of alertness, enthusiasm, determination, optimism, and energy. Even better, those in the gratitude group experienced less depression and stress, were more likely to help others, exercise more consistently, and made greater progress toward achieving personal goals. Dr. Emmons' research also shows that those who celebrate life by practicing an attitude of gratitude tend to be more creative, bounce back more quickly from adversity, have a stronger immune system, and have stronger social relationships than those who don't practice gratitude. To say we feel grateful is not to say that everything in our lives is necessarily great. It just means we're aware of our blessings, Dr. Emmons said. I want to see that last quote again from this great research done by Dr. Robert A. Evans. He says, to say we feel grateful is not to say that everything in our lives is necessarily great. It just means we are aware of our blessings. Friends, let's be intentional about that today and celebrate what God has done in our life. And I close with a third reason to celebrate. Number one, it's good for your health. Two, to celebrate the big and small events in your life. And last but not least, as we finish out our program here in this last minute and a half, celebrate what God's done in your life. I mean, friends, I know a lot of us are not where we want to be, but man, as Joyce Meyer says, thank God we're not where we used to be. Thank God we're not where we used to be. Most of you know the story about the prodigal son in Luke chapter 15, verses 20 through 23. I encourage you to read that story if you've never read it, Luke 15. But the prodigal son blew it all, made unwise decisions, and in fact, he was so poor after blowing the family fortune that he was given as a young man that he was eating pig slop. He finally decided to come home to his earthly father, not knowing if he would have him because he had embarrassed him and went and squandered everything. But I love the response. It says in Luke chapter 15, verse 20, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and ran close and was filled with compassion for him. And he brings the best robe, put it on him, put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. And friends, that story Jesus is telling is about our Heavenly Father does when we come back to Him after wandering off. And I want you to reflect today and celebrate about things that God has brought you through and how He's helped you. Rick Warren says, when you come home to God, no matter what you've done, He wraps you in His love. Revelation chapter 12, verse 11 says, they triumph over Him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Friends, you have a testimony, and because of Jesus' blood and His life that He sacrificed on the cross, there's always hope and reason to celebrate. And I close by this quote by Pastor Andy Stanley, what's celebrated is repeated. So let's be intentional today, and let's celebrate all that Jesus has done in your life. I'm Greg Horn, and this is Hope is Here.